So in this video we'll discuss about the risk management process. So companies have to reduce the risk. Okay, they have to both aim for higher profitability, they have to take innovation, but at the same time they have to also face the risk. So to face the risk they have to reduce the level and intensity of the risk. So COSO, Committee of Sponsoring Organizations, they have created an enterprise risk management cube model. So this is about the cube model. You don't, for an examination purpose, you don't need to remember the cube model, but it is of a good nature that if you just go through the headings. So these headings we will look at in detail with the risk process. So this slide you can read by yourself. It's just for general information sake. This is a simple risk management model. So where first the companies have to identify where the risks are in a company. Then once they have found out where the risks are in the company, they have to write it down or note it down in a risk register where all the risks of the company are noted down in one single place. So once it has been noted, then we'll move on to the estimation. We have to find out how much risky is that risk is. Then we try to map it in a 2 by 2 matrix. Okay, so 2 by 2 matrix helps us to divide a risk into 4 types. So once we have divided it, then we move on to risk reporting, because we have to periodically check how the risk is. Then we move on to risk treatment. This risk cannot be left alone. We have to take sufficient kind of action which reduces the risk. And finally, we also have to do something called residual risk reporting. This is a simple risk management model that we can follow in an exam. So we'll start with the first step called as risk identification. How do we know that what are the various kinds of risks that are in our company? So you can find out that through physical inspection. You can look at the stocks at warehouse, machine conditions at the factory. So through physical inspection you can find out some problem. Checking, surprise checking in accounts, purchase department can reveal some kind of a problem. Brainstorming, thinking, discussing with other colleagues about what are the various kinds of problems that can emerge in a company, that is called as brainstorming. We can have a checklist, like we can sit and think through like what are the various problems a company can face. We can write a checklist like that. We can also do ratio analysis. So certain ratios like current ratio is like very high, then it indicates a problem, or debt equity ratio is like very high, that also indicates a problem. Also like stakeholder consultation. So we can speak, the company can speak with the employees, investors, suppliers and customers, and by speaking and interacting with them, the company can come to a conclusion like where the problem might lie. Or scenario analysis, like it's a kind of a scenario analysis, like we visualize what might happen in the future. What happens when we lose our wallet or cell phone? So we just try to imagine what happens in the future, and we try to find out what we should do now. So what happens when we lose our wallet or cell phone? We lose all our money and also our access to make a call. Immediately in that case, what should we do? What preventive action we should do? So that can be called a scenario analysis. Benchmarking, we can also benchmark and find out whether there is any risk in our company. So these are the ways in which we have identified that there are risks in our company. So once we know that there are risks in our company, we have to formally record them in one single place. So that is called as a risk register. So a risk register has a number of risks. What is that risk? What is the impact and probability and rating? This we will see later. Control rating, level of residual risk, prior year residual risk. So these again we have to see in a later slide. Notes, what is this risk about? Control measure, what kind of control we have taken to ensure that the risk has been lowered. Any further action required? Okay, on which date we have taken that action to reduce the risk? Any comments about that? And which person is responsible for reducing this risk? So in one single place we can mention all the kinds of risks in our company, and it helps us to properly view risk as in a particular time and in a particular place, and we can have a holistic view about the risks a company faces. So once we have recorded the risk, we need to fill in the gap like impact, probability, risk rating, a lot of areas here. For that, we have to do one of the boxes risk estimation. So we have to, once we have found that there is a risk, we have to find out more information in terms of the probability of that risk occurring. If it occurs, what would be its impact on the companies in terms of profitability. So how do we know what the its probability and impact? We can do more information gathering. We can go for market survey, interview. We can go for scenario planning, decision tree. We can use probability. We can use a value at risk, Delphi method. We can do a SWOT or a PEST. So with this, we can come up with the probability and impact. See, we can't come up with a 100% exact or accurate probability and impact, but what we can get is something is better than nothing. So rather than having no information at all and not controlling our risk, this is at least a approximate way of knowing what our risks are. So once we know our risk, we can classify them like this. So the probability of occurrence can be like likely to very unlikely, or the impact of it can be significant to negligible. So this differs from company to company. Every company can have any kind of segregation or categorization as per their want. So this company seems to be having a 5 by 5 matrix wherein they have 25 scenarios, or a company can have a 2 into 2 matrix where they have only 4 kinds of categorization for a risk. So once they have found out a risk, then we move on to risk reporting. So risk reporting is periodically finding out how the risk is like behaving, whether it has become more dangerous or whether the risk has subdued. Okay, and how this risk has to be like created a report as a report and being sent to the top management for their review. So that is what we call as a risk reporting. So you can read this slide by yourself. You can reach me at my website wowacademics.com, or you can also see my Quora answers. I am active in LinkedIn and in Facebook page, so you can visit at these places. If you just type Shyam Prasad and Wow Academics, you will get all these links in Google search itself. And if you like this video, give a like, share to your friends, and if you feel that any points we have missed in this video, you can post it. We will try to give an answer to you in the comment section itself, or we'll also create another video for you. So thank you for watching our video.